I joined Reddit today, pretty much to tell this story. Though, I'm a lurker on a ton of subreddits, so it's just nice to have an account now. I've told the story to my roommates, who are from the same town, and I've talked about it a few times with some of the people who are there, but that's it. To be honest, I don't like to talk about it, because inevitably, someone will say, "Really? We should go try and find it again." But I really don't want to. I've unsuccessfully looked for it on a map a few times, and I can't find it through Google's aerial maps either. Anyway, I'm originally from a major city in southern Ohio, and outside of town there are several smaller townships. One of these is known as the more country bumpkin / redneck / grit part of town. It's not even in the same county, but is part of the general area my city is thought of as. In the woods, there's this legend of Hell's Church, supposedly an old church that burned down, where Satanists do rituals now, or a Satanist church that was burned down by a ritual, depending on who you ask. There are several Hell's Church myths in Ohio, in many different places, but this one was closest to us, and a number of my guy friends decided they wanted to be ghost hunters and check out haunted places around where we lived. We were juniors in high school, and while all of us obviously thought this was just stupid bullshit, we thought it was funny to go out and scare ourselves, plus most people had cars or driver's licenses by now, so we were enjoying a new burst of freedom. I'm a scaredy cat about most stuff like this, but I was the most tomboyish girl in the group, and always kind of wanted to be able to hang with the guys, plus some of the girls in the group, who I was closer to, were going, so I didn't want to look like a loser or a pussy. So, one day in November, we decided we were going to go out one night and try to find this church. We had actually been to this location once before that fall, but one of my friends had a curfew, so after exploring an old barn and the railroad tracks on a bridge nearby, we left. We hadn't found the church, which supposedly was just a chimney at this point, to our disappointment, and my mild relief. We took 2 cars out there, going past more populous parts of our city and back to this woodsy area. I can't honestly tell you how we got out there, but I know it's off a state highway, down an abandoned access road, past an old warehouse, and finally, down a dirt road. Once you get down the dirt road, there's a kind of thicker part of the road early on where we parked cars off the shoulder. We did this because the road thins out and becomes impossible to drive down. Additionally, someone clearly owns this land, and there's a no trespassing sign further down the road. I'm sure a ton of kids come back here, so it didn't seem odd to me that they wanted to block this place off. I barely thought twice about it at the time. We get out of our cars and start walking down the dirt road, wandering off the path from time to time to check out barns or clearings where we thought the chimney might be. At first, it was just scary because it was dark and old, but then the barns started to get weirder. They were filled with weird spray painting symbols and other bullshit. But that's not what bothered us, as we figured whoever was there before us did those. We also found dead owls that looked like they had been opened up, but luckily were dried out and decomposed by the time we got there, and other bits that looked like they might have come from animals. I was grossed out, but we all kind of agreed that these probably came from the same teenagers trying to fake a satanic ritual, or that the animals got trapped in the falling apart barn and died there, eventually being picked apart by other animals. My friends are now hardcore trying to find this stupid chimney, so they keep taking off through the trees into clearings. Myself and the other 2 girls who were there hung back on the tree line for most of them, getting a little more nervous and a little irritated with their fruitless endeavors. As we kept going, we found a bike on the tree line, one that maybe a 12-year-old would ride. It was a little creepy, but fine, whatever. It probably belonged to someone who owned the land. We decided we were going to go a little further, and soon enough, we found another bike. This one was older, a little rusted, but still undersized. We didn't talk too much about the other bike, just kind of mumbling that it's probably still nothing. A few of the guys were saying things like these kids probably got murdered, or other things along those lines, but nobody else was really having it. By that point, we'd been out searching for 2 hours, and it was getting late. Plus, I think we were all a bit more creeped out than we wanted to admit. We decided to head back to the cars, and I started feeling relieved, happy to be headed back to my house and the fuck out of there. But things never work out that way, do they? By the cars, we see a road that goes straight up a hill through the trees. At the start of it, there's a big metal gate that had a road closed sign on it, which we had seen before, but for some reason it had never occurred to us to try and go up the road. We had a small debate at the gate about an evenish split on who wanted to venture up and who didn't. I absolutely didn't. But eventually, we decided we'll go up, just to see. Both drivers wanted to go, so there wasn't a lot we could do about it. We climbed over the gate and started up the hill. The road's old pavement cracked and crumbled under our feet, though it was for sure a real asphalt road at some point. In addition to the road condition and the brush being an obstacle, someone had felled a bunch of trees over the path, purposely blocking off the road from any cars. Some of us started to seriously question if we should be doing this, arguing that someone obviously wanted to keep us out of there, but we got teased for being afraid and kept going. I couldn't see where the road would end since it was so dark. The few flashlights we had didn't do us much good, and the trees made it hard to see. Plus, the road was very steep, so all you could really see was up, with a little moonlight peeking through the trees. All of a sudden, though, we reached the end. The trees just opened up, and we came off the incline to a flat field. And holy fuck, what a sight it was. It's a flat field with tall prairie grass on either side, probably 2 to 3 feet high and pretty uniform. The path that we were on splits the large clearing we are in down the center and leads through the grass to a cul-de-sac with 3 buildings. 2 of them looked like farmhouses, and the third one looked like a barn. The wood and paint looked like they had been mostly weathered and stripped over time. I see this, and I am done. I want to leave. But of course, some of my friends say that we have to check out these buildings. At this point, I finally put my foot down, as did the other 2 girls and one of our guy friends, who decided this is enough for him. He was our valedictorian, so maybe he was just smarter. The 3 guys who wanted to go to the buildings tell us just to wait there, and while we don't want to be in this field, out in the open, we decide we can't just leave them. We also decided to turn off our flashlights, as the moon was plenty bright. The 3 of them take off down the little path, and the 4 of us who remain stand together, bitching about how stupid our friends are, and making small talk. None of us say it, but we were all looking at the grass every now and again, worried something is going to jump out. It was just so creepy, this abandoned little settlement. It felt like our friends were gone forever. We saw them get into the building and go inside, which obviously had to be unlocked. We can see the flicker of their flashlights in the windows, and I just remember feeling so tense, like I was watching a horror movie in real life. After maybe 10 minutes, though it could have just been a tense 5, we see the 3 coming towards us, lightly jogging, looking afraid for the first time all night. "You idiots actually went inside?" I said, pissed off at them. One of my friends just looked at us, and I'll never forget what he said. It was full of bikes. Just bikes chained to the walls. We didn't believe them, and kept waiting for them to say they were joking. However, they insisted, saying it was like someone was just storing them there, and that they were mostly kids' bikes. They looked afraid, and as much as I didn't want to believe them, I did. They weren't the type of guys to pull a prank for this long. By then, we all agreed we needed to get the fuck out of there, and we started down the hill, hurrying down the best we can. All of a sudden, about halfway down the field, we can see a car's headlights down the hill, about where our cars were. We see them pass slowly, and we know someone is down there looking for us. Because it's so far off the beaten path, we figure it's one of two things. One, it's the cops, and we are going to be fucked for trespassing. Or two, it's the people who own this property and land, and they are going to A, call the cops, or B, murder us. We know the road isn't that long, so they'll be turning around, circling back soon enough, and because our cars are there, they'll probably wait for us. We were all whispering about this as we pick up the pace, sprinting down the hill as fast as we can. I'm not a good runner, but I was hauling ass, getting down as fast as I could, basically hurtling over the fallen trees. Once we get down the hill, we don't see any headlights, but we know they can't be far away. "Get in the fucking cars," one of our friends yells, and we are fumbling with the doors like a horror movie, just too nervous to get into the cars. We get in, and just as we start the cars up, we see the headlights speeding down the road, a giant black truck roaring up behind us. This truck seemed larger than life, raised up off the ground. The whole thing was terrifying, but even more terrifying was that we couldn't see who was driving in the dark as the headlights blinded us. We peel out of there, total pedal to the metal. This truck is still following us, bearing down on us as our two cars race out of there. The truck is also getting very close to us, threateningly close, almost like it was trying to run us off the road. We were all screaming, looking back at the truck, fighting for some distance. Once we get to the highway, we switch lanes, trying to escape. Luckily, we were in sedans, so it was easier for us to weave in and out of cars. But this truck is still chasing us. We are in two different lanes, but don't want to get too separated from our friends. The passengers of both cars are texting back and forth, trying to make a plan. It took us about 15 minutes to lose the truck. I'm not sure if the distance was too much, or if they turned around, but once we got to a big shopping center area, we ducked off the road and into a Sonic parking lot. We all sat in our cars for a little bit, watching to make sure we weren't going to get snuck up on, before getting out of the car to get some food and talk. Everyone, even the guys who had tried to act tough the whole time, were pretty shaken up. It took us a while to settle down enough to head home. As much as we talked it over, we just couldn't figure out what had happened. Eventually, we all went home, during what was a pretty silent car ride, exhaustion and lingering fear taking over. We didn't talk about it again for a long time. We also never called the police, which, honestly, as an adult now, I feel like we should have. I don't think about it often, only during the fall, really. But when I do think about it, I ask myself, who chased us? Why was that town abandoned? Who owned those bikes? And where are they now?